Welcome to this deep dive. We've got something really fascinating crafted specifically for you today.
Yeah, we are looking at two really interesting translated reports, right?
Exactly. The source materials you sent over are, well, one is this structural organizational theory document called GOA-60,
Right.
and the other is a macro infrastructure analysis, the MGF weekly report.
Both super dense, but really rewarding.
Oh, completely. And our mission for this session basically is to unpack and, completely dismantle this massive popular anxiety that artificial intelligence is just coming to take over human authority.
It's such a pervasive fear right now. I mean, everywhere you look.
Yeah.
But the literature you shared paints a remarkably different picture of what's actually happening under the surface.
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack this. Think for a second about how, a medical diagnosis normally works.
Okay.
You break your arm, right?
Mm.
The x-ray shows a jagged white line on the film, and the doctor just points at it.
Broken or not broken? Very simple.
Exactly. It's a clean binary judgment. But when you step into the modern workplace or look at global logistics, that x-ray machine is, well, it's fundamentally broken. We're looking at a diagnostic landscape where you can see the problem clear as day, but somehow you still literally cannot fix it.
Because AI isn't actually stealing our authority.
Right.
It's exposing these massive hidden gaps between our responsibility to fix a problem and our actual authority to change reality.
That is the core of it.
To kind of set the baseline here, we should probably briefly look back at a concept from an earlier piece of this research, GOA-59.
Oh, right. The one about future judgments.
Yeah, exactly. That report mapped out how AI essentially takes future judgment requirements and, just drags them to the present.
Like an AI system spotting a fatal contradiction in a legal contract before anyone else.
Right, or a critical flaw in a massive code base long before a human analyst ever would. But GOA-60, the new report, pushes us into the immediate next phase.
Right, because it's no longer a problem of when a judgment occurs.
Exactly. The structural question we face today is whether that judgment can actually reach effective action.
The difference between knowing the problem and actually fixing the problem.
Which is huge.
I mean, the sources lay out a scenario that I think literally every single person listening has felt in their bones.
Oh, for sure.
You're sitting at your desk, the software flags a critical issue, you review it, you understand it completely, and you even know exactly what needs to be done to fix it.
And then?
And then zero action is taken. The problem just sits there.
Yeah. And, the immediate human reflex in that scenario is to blame the person sitting at the desk.
Right. We just assume they're lazy or maybe incompetent.
Or just lacking a sense of professional responsibility.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating here is the text explicitly warns us against reducing this to individual failures.
It's bigger than that.
Much bigger. It's a fundamental mismatch between the range of judgments a person is expected to make and the range of reality they are actually allowed to change.
I was thinking about this, and it's like having a state-of-the-art fire detection system, right?
Okay, I like this.
It perfectly maps out exactly where the smoke is, like down to the exact square inch of the building.
Flawless detection.
Right. But the only person who holds the physical key to unlock the glass box with the fire extinguishers, well, they're on a 2-week vacation.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The detection is perfect, but the execution path is completely severed.
That visual captures the mechanism perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, to understand why that happens, we really have to look at the structural pathway that any decision has to travel through to create a real-world state change.
The 6 steps, right. Let's walk through those.
Yeah, the text outlines this 6-step sequence, but begins with detection, which is simply spotting the anomaly.
Seeing the smoke.
Exactly. Next is recognition, acknowledging that the anomaly actually matters.
Okay.
Then comes judgment, deciding on the specific course of action to fix it.
Right.
Step 4 is authority, possessing the systemic power to authorize that fix.
And that's usually where the wall is.
Yeah, exactly. Then step 5 is action, the physical or digital execution. And finally, verification.
Confirming the state change actually worked.
You got it.
So detection, recognition, judgment, authority, action, verification.
Right.
If we apply that to the AI contract example from earlier, the AI does the detection.
Yeah.
The human analyst provides the recognition and judgment. They decide, hey, the vendor contract needs an immediate rewrite.
But then they hit an absolute brick wall at step 4.
because the analyst does not have the power to unilaterally break and renegotiate a binding vendor agreement.
Right. They can't just move the departmental budget to cover a penalty or formally accept the legal risk.
So AI is heavily accelerating those first three steps.
Massively. Detection, recognition, and judgment are happening at unprecedented speeds.
But then it just slams into that exact brick wall at step 4.
Exactly. And this really brings us to a pervasive myth in corporate architecture that the source deconstructs. The myth of the responsible person.
Oh, I loved this part.
Right. Organizations routinely find a messy, complex problem, assign a quote-unquote responsible person to oversee it, and just assume the issue is handled.
But wait, that doesn't totally make sense to me. If my neck is officially on the line as the responsible project manager, why wouldn't I just force the fix through?
Well,
I mean, if I'm the one who gets fired if the project fails, isn't that what responsibility means? I would just go make the change.
you'd think so, but because the text draws a very hard line between these concepts, it doesn't work that way. Responsibility does not equal authority,
Right.
and neither of those equals action. Having a responsible person basically just means the organization knows who to point the finger at if things go wrong.
Wow. So it's an accountability mechanism, not an execution mechanism.
Exactly. Just because you are, say, responsible for the success of a software launch does not mean you can authorize an emergency budget increase.
Yeah, you can't just force the legal department to expedite their review.
No. And it doesn't mean you can make a change contractually binding.
So we're essentially working with the entirely wrong definition of authority.
We treat it like a job title. Manager, director, vice president.
But the source defines authority in a strictly functional way. It defines it as the range within which a person or system can make a state change actually take effect.
Yes. It's not about what is printed on your business card. It's about what you can actually mutate in reality.
And the talk gets highly granular here.
Very. It asks us to distinguish between different nuances of authority to show how easily that pathway breaks.
Let's go through those.
So first, you have assigned authority. That's simply what your job description says you're supposed to do.
Okay, pretty standard.
Then there is operational authority. This is what you physically have the access to do. For example, do you actually have the administrator privileges in the software system?
Got it. If you don't have a login, you don't have operational authority.
Exactly. Then you have binding authority. That's whether your actions are legally or contractually enforceable. And finally, perceived authority, which is whether other departments believe you actually have the backing of leadership to implement the change.
Oh, man. So if any single one of those 4 types of authority fails to align, the entire fix just dies on the vine.
It's gone.
You might have the assigned authority to update the server, but if IT revoked your operational authority in the system, you're paralyzed.
And this creates a really wild structural side effect as AI scaled across an enterprise.
Because AI basically distributes observation, right?
Yes, it gives everyone on the ground floor a super-powered analytical magnifying glass.
So frontline workers can now detect and analyze systemic problems that previously required like an entire team of data scientists.
Exactly. But while observation is suddenly distributed everywhere, the stopping power, the contractual authority, and the risk acceptance, those remain fiercely centralized.
I mean, if we run the math on that structural architecture, that sounds like a recipe for a catastrophic system failure.
It really is.
You have this exponential increase in detected issues and all these AI-generated judgment requests bubbling up from the bottom, but they are all feeding into the exact same narrow pipes at the top.
You're basically building a massive high-speed pipeline of data that all feeds into a single desktop in the legal department.
Or like a single monthly risk compliance meeting.
Right. The AI-enabled organization doesn't automatically become decentralized or autonomous. It just builds faster highways that lead directly into the same bureaucratic bottlenecks.
So the friction just shifts.
Yes. You're no longer waiting for data analysis. You're waiting for legal reviews, exception approvals, and cross-departmental coordination.
Which introduces this brilliant concept from the Japanese text.
We say you.
Yes, miseyu, which translates to the unacted upon condition.
It's such a precise term.
It really is. It refers to a very specific state where a problem is fully recognized, the correct judgments and solutions exist, but the issue has simply not connected to the necessary authority and execution path.
It hasn't produced a real-world state change.
Right. So what does this all mean in practice?
Well, it forces us to distinguish between 2 completely different types of organizational failure.
Okay.
There is a problem that is simply unrecognized, like Nobody knew the database was leaking.
Right, that's just an observation failure.
Exactly. But then there is the recognized but unacted upon problem.
Where the AI flagged the leak every Tuesday for 6 months.
And the engineering team knew exactly how to patch it.
But no one had the authority to force a temporary shutdown of the client-facing app to actually deploy the patch.
Yes. It's like an organization suffering from phantom limb syndrome.
Well, that's a great way to put it.
The brain knows exactly what it wants to do. The nervous system fires the signal perfectly, but the physical connection to the hand is just severed.
The intent is there, but the execution is impossible.
Exactly.
So if we take this micro-organizational bottleneck, AI generating rapid solutions while authority remains centralized, and we apply it to the physical globe.
This is where it gets really crazy.
Yeah, we realize this isn't just an HR problem or a corporate workflow issue. It is a massive physical infrastructure crisis.
Right.
And the second source, the MGF Weekly Report, takes this exact mathematical mismatch and shows it playing out on a macro level.
The MGF report frames this brilliantly by introducing the idea of a compatibility error.
A compatibility error between what and what?
It suggests we're looking at a fundamental conflict between a high-speed judgment OS and a low-speed authority OS.
OS meaning operating system.
Right. When we talk about an operating system in computers, we're talking about the background rules that dictate what software can and cannot do.
Okay, so the judgment OS is driven by AI analysis, fast capital, digital models.
And it moves in milliseconds.
Right. But the authority OS is the physical reality. Infrastructure, municipal permits, international legalities.
Exactly. Let's unpack the real-world evidence they provide for this.
Yeah.
Starting with AI data centers.
Okay, yeah. Because when people talk about the AI boom, they usually just talk about silicon chips, processing power, billions of dollars in investment.
Things that belong to that high-speed judgment OS.
Right. But an AI model deciding it needs more compute power cannot just magically spin up servers in a vacuum.
It needs the low-speed authority OS. It needs physical land. It needs massive amounts of cooling water.
Gigawatts from local power grids.
And that is exactly where the fast OS collides with the physical gates of authority.
The AI industry assumes they can just purchase land and plug into reality.
But the MGF report points out that data centers are shifting. They are going from being simple power consumers to becoming subjects of connection audits.
Connection audits, meaning the local municipality demands an environmental impact study before releasing water rights.
Right. Or the local power grid refuses to supply energy until they analyze the long-term stress on regional infrastructure.
So the grid is no longer just a utility pipe, it's a gatekeeper.
Setting the legal and physical conditions of connection, the AI operates in milliseconds, but the water board operates in months.
Wow. It's the exact same dynamic as the software engineer who knows how to fix the code but needs the legal department's approval.
Exactly the same. The AI company has all the capital and the intent in the world, but they lack the regional infrastructural authority to execute the state change.
And we see this exact same compatibility error in global logistics, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. The report uses the Strait of Hormuz as a prime example.
Let's talk about that, because logistics is perhaps the purest illustration of this authority OS.
We historically thought of shipping and logistics purely as physical space.
Right. The ocean is there, the ship is there, so the ship sails through the ocean.
Simple as that. But the report argues we are entering an era of the conditional logistics OS.
Meaning it's no longer about the physical space existing.
It's entirely about the complex, overlapping webs of authority required to use that space.
So if an AI routing system calculates the absolute fastest, most fuel-efficient route for a cargo ship, and it draws a line straight through a geopolitically tense region.
The AI has made a perfect judgment.
But it doesn't matter if the physical water is there.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Because the shipping company needs marine insurance. And the insurance syndicate might look at that AI-generated route and say, no, that crosses a conflict threshold we have not underwritten.
So the AI's perfect judgment hits a brick wall of financial and legal authority.
You need the right flag registry claiming jurisdiction over the vessel. You need diplomatic clearances, military safety assurances.
If you don't have the insurance underwriter's authority, that open ocean might as well be solid rock.
The physical capacity is totally irrelevant if you don't possess the access rights.
That is wild. And the third example the report digs into is critical minerals, right?
Yes. Materials like copper, cobalt, rare earth elements, the stuff that powers the entire digital transition.
Right. And the old geopolitical game was simple. Whoever possesses the physical raw ore wins.
But the MGF report shows that mere possession is basically just detection, It's only the first step.
Because possessing the raw ore does you no good if you cannot process it.
Exactly. The strategic focus has shifted entirely to controlling the pathways of smelting, refining, and recycling.
If you dig the cobalt out of the ground, but you rely entirely on another nation's industrial facilities to refine it into a usable battery component,
Your possession of the rock is meaningless.
you don't hold the authority to execute the final state change.
The loop itself becomes the primary resource rather than the raw material.
So in all of these physical examples, the data centers needing water rights, the shipping lanes requiring insurance, the mineral supply chains needing refining pathways, the source identifies a massive shift.
From connectivity maximization to connectivity governance.
Right. We're no longer just asking, can we physically connect these two things?
We are asking, who has the authority to dictate the terms of that connection?
Connectivity governance asks the defining questions of this new era.
Who accepts the regulatory load? Who holds the legal veto power?
Who governs the pathway between the AI's detection of a problem and the physical world's execution of the solution?
Exactly.
So hearing all of this, the natural reaction to these massive centralized bottlenecks and bureaucratic toll booths is to just, blow the system wide open.
Oh, of course.
If centralizing authority is the problem, why don't we just distribute authority down to the lowest possible level?
Empower everyone.
Yeah. In the corporate office, let the frontline worker unilaterally change the contract. In infrastructure, completely deregulate the power grids and let anyone build anything.
Problem solved. Right.
Right. Empower everyone with the authority to match their observation, and the bottleneck vanishes.
It's deeply tempting to view decentralization as a universal cure. But the text strongly cautions against treating distributed authority as some kind of moral imperative or a silver bullet.
It's not that simple.
It's fundamentally a question of evaluating structural trade-offs.
Yeah.
We really have to look at what kind of load each configuration creates on the organization.
Okay, walk me through those loads. What is the actual cost of centralizing versus distributing?
Well, if you utilize centralized authority, you preserve absolute consistency.
Okay.
You ensure that 20 different regional teams aren't rewriting the same core software architecture in 20 conflicting ways. The system remains stable.
But the load you accept is the bottleneck.
Yes, the system grinds to a halt under the sheer volume of AI-generated requests, and you generate massive amounts of unacted upon conditions.
All those Messiah states.
Exactly.
And if you flip the switch to distributed authority,
you absolutely improve the response speed on the front lines. The employee sees the problem and fixes it instantly.
right.
But you create massive new friction in coordination and consistency. And most critically, you incur incredibly high reintegration costs.
Reintegration costs. That sounds exactly like what happens in decentralized software development.
It's the perfect analogy.
If you have 50 developers working on the same code base, and you give them all the authority to build their own local branches, they might write brilliant code to solve their specific local problems.
But if you don't have a rigorous centralized merge protocol to govern how those branches connect,
putting it all back together at the end of the week creates a massive amount of conflicting code that just crashes the entire application.
that is exactly it. If every local team creates brilliant local fixes without a strict protocol for how those fixes interact with the broader system, the effort required to untangle and integrate those changes, the reintegration costs will eventually bankrupt the organization's resources.
Wow. So the goal of these reports is not to label centralized authority as quote-unquote bad and distributed authority as good.
No, the goal is diagnostic.
It forces an organization to ask, which pain are we better equipped to handle?
The pain of the centralized bottleneck, or the pain of massive reintegration.
Because as AI continues to scale, the sheer volume of judgments an organization has to process is going to multiply exponentially.
And the pressure to redesign how authority is distributed won't just be an efficiency exercise. It will be an existential requirement.
The entities that survive this transition won't necessarily be the ones that purchase the fastest AI models.
No, they will be the ones that architect the most resilient authority pathways to handle the friction between digital judgment and physical reality.
Let me try to synthesize this incredible journey we've been on.
Go for it.
We started with this looming societal fear that AI is arriving to take away our authority and render human decision-making obsolete.
Right.
But the reality playing out in these structural reports is almost the exact inverse. AI is basically acting as a diagnostic dye injected into the bloodstream of our organizations and our global infrastructure.
Lighting up all the invisible walls.
Exactly. It's showing us exactly where the connection from detection to verification is completely severed by a lack of operational or binding authority.
It eliminates the miseu.
Yeah.
It forces us to clearly see the vast graveyard of recognized but unacted upon states that our organizations have learned to ignore.
So, to you, the listener, here's how you can apply this to your own reality tomorrow morning.
Take notes on this part.
The next time you are stuck staring at a project that you know exactly how to fix, but you just cannot seem to push it forward into reality, I want you to resist the urge to just ask,
No.
who is dropping the ball?
Do not assume it is just a lazy coworker or an incompetent manager.
Right. Instead, map that blocked pathway. Ask yourself, where exactly is the gap between my official responsibility to oversee this issue and my actual systemic authority to change reality?
Because finding that structural gap is the first necessary step to actually solving the real problem.
Which leaves us with a rather profound structural question regarding the future of work.
It really does. If AI continues to accelerate our ability to detect and analyze problems to near instantaneous speeds,
but human authority and physical infrastructure remain inherently bound by the slow speed of consensus, permits, and risk acceptance.
will the most successful organizations of the future be defined not by how much data they can analyze, but entirely by how efficiently they can design pathways to ignore things?
Designing highly efficient pathways to actively ignore accurate judgments simply because you do not have the authority bandwidth to process them into reality.
It's a heavy realization.
It is, but given the friction we've uncovered today, it might be the most vital survival skill a modern organization can develop. It fundamentally reframes what it means to be effective in a high-speed system.
Absolutely.
Thank you for diving into these incredibly dense, rewarding materials with us today. Go map out those invisible walls in your own systems, evaluate your reintegration costs, and we will see you on the next deep dive.